Coming up, the Tigers sweep a doubleheader and Shohei Ohtani beats Aaron Judge. This is Locked On Game to Game, MLB.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. Local experts join us to go over the biggest stories in baseball and recap all of the action for you from yesterday in the MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Kerry Carpenter hit a walk-off home run to lift the Tigers over the Guardians in Game 1 of their doubleheader, while Riley Green's homer was the only offense in Detroit's Game 2 win. Locked On Tigers feeling good after a pair of victories on Tuesday.
The Detroit Tigers win a series in about 5 hours, and it was glorious. I am Scott Bentley, host of Locked On Tigers. 2 wins in one day for Detroit, starting off with a walk-off winner. The Tigers at the time, third straight walk-off win with a Kerry Carpenter home run, kept getting fastballs up and in, eventually turned on it. Sends it into the bleachers. Tigers win that one, get a pretty solid start from Matthew Boyd outside of 1 inning, and we're able to tack on runs and take a lead in the 9th. And then Game 2, you have one of the best starts of Eduardo Rodriguez's Tigers career. Not only one of the best starts of his Tigers career, one of the best starts of his career, period. 8 innings, 10 strikeout, shutout ball, no walks, something close to a 75% strike thrown rate. He was insanely good, and they get a solo shot from Riley Green to win it. We're going to talk about both games on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Tigers.
The Rangers routed the Royals in Kansas City on Tuesday with a 12-2 win. Our Locked On Rangers host goes over Texas's offensive outburst.
Even without Corey Seager, this offense continues to absolutely dominate against this Kansas City Royals team. Rangers win it 12-2, a 10-run victory yet again for these Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, host of the Locked On Rangers podcast. This was a massive win for the Rangers, who take 2 out of 3 at least from Kansas City, have their longest winning streak of the season, tied at 3 games piece. Just a fantastic outing from Nathan Eovaldi, who struggled a little bit, but was able to get through 6 innings, just 2 earned runs. Big home runs from Marcus Semien, who has a homer in 3 straight, has his 4th home run of the season, and a massive home run yet again from Adolis Garcia, who had a 3-run shot as well. Travis Jankowski doing things from the 2-hole. Adolis Garcia, like I said, with his big game, multi-hit game from Ezekiel Duran. A nice win for the Rangers, who can go for the sweep. Hopefully can get it against these Royals, who they dominate.
The Cubs have won 4 of their first 5 games in a West Coast road trip after shutting out the Athletics yesterday. Locked On Cubs explains Chicago's hot streak.
Just a terrific win for the Cubs tonight. 0-0 all the way up until the top of the 8th, and then a huge rally starting with a Seiya Suzuki leadoff walk, and Patrick Wisdom and Cody Bellinger combine again to get the 2 big hits, and then the inning was rolling from there. Marcus Stroman was fantastic. The bullpen followed suit, some clutch hitting late. You always like to win those games that are really tightly contested late. Feels like it just makes you better as a team. It's the type of games that flip early starts to the season, and that's what the Cubs did tonight. They will go for the sweep tomorrow. They are playing some of the best baseball in all the land right now. The Cubbies are hot. Patrick Wisdom's hot. Bellinger's hot. Stroman's hot. Cubs are rolling.
Blake Snell is now 0-3 to start the season for the Padres as San Diego fell 8-1 to the Braves on Tuesday. Locked On Padres tells us what's going wrong for Snell and San Diego as a whole in a slow start to their season.
Is the San Diego Padres offense dead? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. I'm ashamed to even show my face. Javier Reyes here of the Locked On Padres podcast. The third loss in a row. The Padres have scored 1 run over their last 3 games, the latest of which came against Atlanta, to which they lost 8-1. Nabil Crismatt continues his poor stuff out of the bullpen to add on to that score from Atlanta, but it's just been really rough so far. Tatis does come back Thursday, but even still, this should not be a team that is waiting on this guy to come back to save them. I mean, you have Xander, you have Manny, you have Soto. You've got some other decent players in that lineup. You should be scoring more than this. You should be more productive with runners in scoring position than teams like the Pirates and the A's. That's literally how bad it is. Second worst to only maybe the Royals. So really bad time for things right now. I guess the one bright spot was by his early season struggle standards, Blake Snell was okay. But otherwise, it's pretty rough out here, guys. It's pretty rough. But always stay faithful. You got to keep it. And, we're getting Musgrove back on Saturday and Tatis on Thursday. So hopefully better times to come. But yeah, it stinks right now.
The first matchup of the year between the Yankees and Angels went the way of the Angels. Shohei Ohtani homering in a 5-2 Los Angeles win. Locked On Angels has that recap.
Start spreading the news. The Angels are back over 500. They are now 9-8 after a 5-2 win against the Yankees in the Bronx. What's going on, everybody? It's John Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. The Halos take a victory after a Shohei Ohtani 2-run home run over the short porch. It was not a Mickey Mouse home run. This would have been out in Angel Stadium as well. Mike Trout has himself a great night, 2 for 4. And then Taylor Ward, 2 for 5. Anthony Rendon has 2 RBIs. Hunter Renfroe doubles in Anthony Rendon. The Angels were very aggressive on the base paths. They really cleaned it up in this game. Zach Neto had a great play to Anthony Rendon when the bases were loaded. Jose Suarez did not pitch well, but he was saved by the bullpen, which consisted of Andrew Wantz going 1 2/3 innings, Jimmy Herget 2 innings, Jaime Barria getting to pitch with a lead for once, and then Jose Quijada getting the save. Mike and I are going to talk about this one on Locked On Angels, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube.
The Rays wrecked the Reds in Cincinnati, taking a 10-0 win to improve to 15-3 on the season so far. Locked On hosts from both teams go over this one-sided battle.
Should I tell you the good news or the bad news first? My name is Ulysses Sembrano, host of the Locked On Rays podcast. Let's start with the good news first. Well, the Rays beat the Cincinnati Reds by a score of 10-0. They played with a chip on their shoulder as they did not do that well on Monday evening, so it's nice to see the boys come back and bounce with a really good victory, especially Taylor Walls. This might as well be known as a Taylor Walls game as he went deep from both sides of the plate. Incredible to see, including a 2 RBI triple as well. Taj Bradley, in his second MLB start, continues to impress Rays fandom, and that is really good to see, especially because here comes the bad news. Jeffrey Springs will miss out the rest of the season and half of next year too, as he will be going through Tommy John surgery. For this and much more of your Rays analysis and news, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Rays. Rays up.
The Cincinnati Reds won big on Tuesday. No, I know, they lost to the Tampa Bay Rays, but they won where it counted. Hey, what's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and the Cincinnati Reds extended Hunter Green with a 6-year contract worth $53 million. There is a 7th-year option that, should the club pick that up in 2029, the overall total deal will come out to about $91 million. This deal is great for Hunter Green. This deal is great for the Cincinnati Reds. And quite honestly, it didn't matter what happened in Tuesday night's game after this deal. The Reds had 0 guaranteed money on the books next season. So we were all wondering, what is this team going to do to invest in itself? And they started by locking down their rock star ace in Hunter Green. More to come. I'm pretty sure this will not be the only extension that the Reds have. Make sure you keep it tuned to Locked On Reds.
Coming up, Jazz Chisholm powers the Marlins past the Giants. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by Built Bar, the best tasting protein bars on the market. I'm saying that because I've tried them. I love them. They are made with 100% real chocolate. They come in dozens of different flavors, and they're good for you because they're high in protein. You can get the Puffs flavors, which have the protein-infused marshmallow. Those are my personal favorite. You can buy them at Built.com, but now you can also get them at Sam's Club or Walmart. If you go to Walmart, they are in the pharmacy section. You can get those 4-bar boxes. You can do what I do. I go to Sam's Club and I get the 13-bar box. So I'm stocked up for a while. And of course, you can always head over to Built.com. Welcome back to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you again for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. The Cardinals took a 1-run loss to the Diamondbacks and now have to win today to avoid a sweep at home. Locked On Cardinals takes us through St. Louis's most recent loss.
Despite a nice comeback attempt, the Cardinals fall again at Busch Stadium tonight by the score of 8-7 to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Hey, it's Shady from Locked On Cardinals, and tonight the Cardinals had their most dependable starter of the season so far on the mound in Jordan Montgomery, but even he is no match for whatever voodoo has been cast on this team in April. After staking him to a 2-0 lead, Jordan Montgomery has a fourth inning to forget. Single, double, single, an unsuccessful rundown attempt where the Cardinals missed the tag. And then with the bases loaded, Nick Ahmed hits a pitch off the bounce in front of home plate and bloops it into left field for a 2-run double. Unbelievable. And then the cherry on top, the next hitter smashes a 3-run homer, making it 7-2. Just a ridiculous sequence of events for a team that continues to find ways to lose ball games. Wilson Contreras, great night. Goes yard twice in this one. The Cardinals did score 3 in the 9th inning to make it a game, but it wasn't enough. They fall to 7-11 on the year. Day game tomorrow with a new episode of Locked On Cardinals immediately after.
The Blue Jays beat the Astros in Houston behind Matt Chapman's big day at the plate, and Locked On Blue Jays has more details after the victory.
Hello, friends. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Got a little dicey towards the end there, but Blue Jays hang on for a 4-2 Tuesday night W that'll even the series in Houston. Offensively, Matt Chapman stayed hot. Offensively, Vlad Jr. with his first home run ever at Minute Maid Park in Houston. And offensively, a hit and run, because not really sure if it was called or not, with Brandon Belt and Whit Merrifield, certainly paid dividends. That was a big run, led to an important run for the Blue Jays as well. On the mound, Chris Bassett continues to have his arrow pointed upwards. Since Bassett's debacle in his first ever Blue Jay start in St. Louis, 18 1/3 innings pitched, just 4 runs on 10 hits, 9 walks, so fine. The walks have been too many, but only 1 walk tonight. But look at the rest of that. 18 1/3 innings pitched, 4 runs, 10 hits. That's going to work. Jordan Romano with a 4-out save. That's his league-leading 7th save of the season. Join me tomorrow on Locked On Blue Jays to preview this Blue Jays-Astros rubber match.
The long ball helped the Pirates get a win over the Rockies on Tuesday, and our Locked On hosts with both teams have more on how things turned out in Colorado.
You can raise the Jolly Roger in Colorado for the second time as the Pittsburgh Pirates win the first 2 games of the series against the Colorado Rockies at Coors Field. This time led by 2 home runs from Jack Suwinski in a 5-3 victory. Vince Velasquez would continue the streak of quality starts from the Pittsburgh Pirates, starting pitching to 8 games as he pitched 6 innings pitched after giving up 3 runs in the first inning. David Bednar comes on for the save in the 9th after taking a shot off the side from Jurickson Profar and still getting the out. And the Pirates move to 11-7 on the year and will look for a series sweep tomorrow as Johan Oviedo faces Austin Gomber. And then the Pirates return to the healthy confines of PNC Park. My name is Ethan Smith, your host of the Locked On Pirates podcast. I will see you on the flip side.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast. Another day, another loss for the Colorado Rockies as they have now dropped their 7th game in a row. You continue to ask the question of why are the Rockies turning to these options? Why Jose Urena, who's now given up yet another multi-home run game? Why is Luis Montero benched, and is that the plan going forward? What are the Rockies doing? There's no life. There's no energy. The team is completely flat and is just getting dominated in every asset of the game. Disappointing late game strikeouts, more runners left in scoring position. Things don't change. The Rockies are going to find themselves completely at the bottom of the league, and they're on the fast track to doing so. We'll break it all down right here on Locked On Rockies.
Jazz Chisholm hit a 3-run home run that made the difference for the Marlins against the Giants. Locked On Giants goes over that loss in Miami for San Francisco.
The Giants have the formula down pat. Score some early runs, start to feel a little bit optimistic, have the fans feeling optimistic, and then go ice cold as a lineup the rest of the way, pretty much, and allow the other team to just chip away and come back and eventually overtake you and have it result in another loss as the Giants fell to 5-11 on the season. They've lost 5 straight, and many of those games, at least 3 or 4 of those games, the Giants really should feel like they probably should have won the game. We're talking early leads. We're talking significant leads against bad teams. And so it's been a bad start for the San Francisco Giants, no bones about it. But let's remember, they started 8-16 in 2020, and then before the end of the 60-game season, they were back over 500. And so it doesn't doom them, but it certainly doesn't help. And They just need to find a way to win a game. No excuses, even though they've got a lot of injured guys right now. So we'll break it down tomorrow on Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
The Orioles shut out the Nationals in D.C. on Tuesday with a 1-0 win. Locked On Orioles recaps that strong night on the mound for Baltimore.
The Orioles have relied on their offense for 16 games now. So you knew at some point a clunker was going to happen. And that clunker happened on Tuesday night. 1 run against the Nationals. But you know what also happened? The pitching finally stepped up. Dean Kramer, he's back. 6 2/3 scoreless. The bullpen gets it done for the Orioles. A little shaky at the end, but they get a 1-0 win over the Nationals. Win number 10 for the O's on the season. And really the best part was seeing Dean Kramer out there after 3 terrible starts to start the year. He was great. He was throwing all 3 of his fastballs. They were all working. At one point, he threw 14 straight fastballs to strike out the side in the 3rd inning. Looked like a different pitcher against, albeit a bad Nationals lineup, but a huge sign for the O's moving forward. They take the opener of the Beltway battle, and I'll recap it all coming up on Wednesday's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
The Phillies and the Sox split a doubleheader on the south side yesterday, and our Locked On hosts with both teams have more after a twin bill in Chicago.
The Philadelphia Phillies win Game 1 of their doubleheader in Chicago. Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. Man, that's some good momentum building off that series finale in Cincinnati. And 5 runs early for this one. Zach Wheeler goes ahead and struggles a little bit in 1 inning, but those only 4 runs that Wheeler gave up in his roughest inning were the only runs that Chicago got. Josh Harrison, a really nice day, a home run, 2 other hits. Bryson Stott extends his hitting streak and sets the Philadelphia Phillies modern baseball franchise record for a hitting streak to start the season with 17 games. Just a fun first game, a little bit tighter than it needed to be. And now let's get ready to go ahead and play 2. You've got Bailey Falter on the mound against Lucas Giolito in Game 2, and we will break down both games on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.
The Chicago White Sox split a doubleheader with the Philadelphia Phillies on Tuesday. Sox lost the first game, won the second game. Hey, I'm Nick Morawski from Locked On White Sox. Lucas Giolito, brilliant in Game 2, 6 innings, 0 hits. White Sox pitching a combined 1 hitter against the Phillies. Sox offense for the 3rd game in a row scored all their runs in 1 inning. This time it was the 1st inning, and it was Jake Berger hitting his 4th home run in 5 games. Sox go for the series win on Wednesday afternoon, sending Mike Clevenger to the hill. For more, check out the Locked On White Sox podcast.
That's a wrap for this edition of Locked On Game to Game MLB. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Baseball's back. Make sure you are following Locked On MLB and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This is Locked On Game to Game.